All right, hey guys, Joe McCall here. This is day 3 where we talk about finding the tenant buyer. And if you remember last time we were looking at this house, I think, pretty sure, it was this house in the Memphis, Tennessee area. And we're going to be just pretending like we got this property under contract and we're going to be advertising this property as a lease option. All right. Now, the tenant buyer, or the seller tells us they want $160,000 for the house and they want $1,650 a month in rent. If you look at the Zestimate on this house, it's worth about $163,000. So we're in the ballpark, right? And they want $1,650. Sometimes what I like to do is I like to get second opinions on the values of the homes, right? One site that I sometimes go to is icomps.com, and you can type the address in here. Another site that is good is some people use Total View Real Estate, I think is what it is, Total View Real Estate. You can look comps in there. Let's just do that real quick here. I will pause this video just so I can pull this up. You don't have to watch me do it. All right, so iComps, estimated value of 158. I don't know how they get that. Total View Real Estate, they put Zestimate there, and their value they put on it is 161. And then ePraisal.com, they give it 170. So we're in the ballpark. We're doing pretty good there, right? So the seller wants 160 and they want $1,650 a month in rent. And looking at the at Zillow, I'm a little maybe concerned about this. Zillow's estimate says $1,425 and they're wanting $1,650. Maybe it's not a big deal. So if you could spend a little bit of time if you wanted looking to see what similar homes in the area are renting for, or you could go to a website like rentometer.com to look at that. In fact, let's look at that real quick. I'm going to pause this and just go there. Hold on. So I went to Rentometer, and you get 3 reviews for free, I think, on their basic version. You get a pro version. It's not that much. I don't know. I don't have the pro version. But their $1,650 is up on the upper end of this, right? The average rent in this area is about $1,200. Now you got to spend some time looking at these properties. So I went into Zillow and did a search for rentals around the area. And if we look at 4+ bedrooms and we sort this from high to low, you can see they're pushing the upper end of the boundaries, right? Here's a property for $1,795, a similar size. Here's $1,650. This is our house. We're looking at $1,650. Here's one for $1,600. But here's the cool thing about lease options, right? If they are a little high, typically we can get a little higher rent on a lease option. Not a whole bunch more, but we can get a little higher rent. And if we don't find a good tenant buyer in a couple, 3-4 weeks, then we can always go back to the seller and say, this price isn't going to work. This rent's not going to work. We need to lower the rent. So I'm not obligated to make any rental payments on a lease option flip. And so I might test the market and see if we can get $1,650 a month for it. It all depends. Let the market tell you what it would bear. I know on this house, it's a good area. I want to get at least 3%, so I'm going to try to get $5,000. And I'm also going to offer rent credit. So I'm going to give the seller a contract. We talked about this before. I'm going to give the seller a short offer form for $160 and $1,650 a month in rent. It's contingent on me inspecting the property and completing a more formal lease option agreement. And I'm not going to complete that more formal lease option agreement until I find a good tenant buyer that's going to live in the house, right? And the seller knows all of this up front. None of it's hidden. I'm going to be doing rent credits. And those are just seller concessions that apply to closing costs. They don't go towards their down payment. It's not money the seller has to set aside every month. So I'm going to set the option price at $168. And how do I get to that $168? I take $160 plus $5,000 plus $3,000, and they get $168. And I'm also going to advertise it for rent at $1,650, and I'm going to advertise rent credits for $250 a month for 12 months. As simple as that. Give the seller the price they want. Mark it up a little bit. My profit is what? This $5,000. That is actually my assignment fee. And if you're working with a right mortgage broker, that money will be applied back to their future down payment if that tenant buyer buys the home. Does that make sense? Cool thing about this too is, let's say they only have $3,000, but they can afford the house. They're good quality tenant buyers. They have a realistic chance of getting a mortgage in 6 to 12 months. I might take $3,000 and then set a note for the difference, that $2,000 over the next 24 months, right? So let's just take a look at this on the calculator here. Let's say they only have $3,000, right? So the difference is 2. That's not why I got the calculator out, but I just wanted to show you something. And let's say you divide that by 24 months. We could set up a payment plan of $83 a month for the next 24 months, right? Or we could set up maybe $167 a month over the next 12 months to get them caught up for the difference. And so this is a great way to create notes and get some good passive income if they don't have all of the option deposit that you're trying to get. Okay? Now, we've got this property under contract. What do we do? How do we advertise it? Real simple. Craigslist, Zillow, and signs. All right? Craigslist, Zillow, and signs. If you have not found a tenant buyer within, I talk about it down here. If you haven't found a tenant buyer within 4 weeks or less, then you're doing something wrong. You're not advertising it in the right place, or it's overpriced. Craigslist, Zillow, just self-explanatory. Signs, put a sign in the yard, signs in the neighborhood. In my course, I talk about certain signs that we do. And then this is something you got to outsource as soon as possible, right? And why not outsource it to a leasing agent, to a real estate agent? I pay them half a month's rent. You can find them by placing an ad in Craigslist, or you can just contact other leasing agents that are advertising other properties on Zillow, on Craigslist, and just ask them if they would be willing to work with you and help you on one of your deals. Now, you get some applications. You need to pre-qualify your tenant buyer. I have a lady that helps me nationwide do all my lease options. She gives me an application. I give those applications to the tenant buyers. They fill it out. They send it to her. She collects the application fee, and she tells me. She pulls their credit. She looks at their mortgage or their credit history. She calls previous employers. She calls previous landlords. She verifies their income. She does a really, really thorough job. Basically, you want to look at, can they afford the home? Do they have at least 3 to 5% to put down on the house? Or maybe you can create a note. Do they have a realistic chance of getting a mortgage in 1 or 2 years? One of my best students, Adam, just sent me a testimonial just yesterday and said that in the last few, I'm not sure how long ago, but he's done about 8 lease option deals, and 100% of them qualified for a mortgage in a year or less, right? How did he do that? Well, he made sure they had a realistic chance to get a mortgage in 1 or 2 years. And he put them in touch with a mortgage broker and a credit repair company. All right. Now, in my course, I have a mortgage broker that you can work with in all 50 states. I'd recommend you try to find somebody local if you can, but only put a tenant buyer in a house that has a realistic chance of getting a mortgage and can afford the home. Okay. That should go without saying. That's really, really important. Once you find a good tenant buyer, well, there's a little bit more paperwork involved. There's the lease and a new option and a new assignment agreement. My attorney helps you with that. Or you can do it on your own, doesn't matter. But you're going to assign that new paperwork to the tenant buyer. All right? You can use my attorney. I have an escrow company as well. It's really important that I recommend you use. But you're going to take that paperwork and assign it to the tenant buyer. That's how you get paid. Does that make sense? Now, like I said before, if you have not filled your lease option house in 3 to 4 weeks, then something's wrong. You're not marketing the home in the right places. It's overpriced. Or it's just outside of the median price range. That's why it's so important to make sure that you are only dealing with houses that you can sell. You've got to have a checklist. A checklist is super important. A checklist leads to checks, okay? Because it's easy to forget things, like the seller's disclosure statement or lead-based paint, the correct escrow agreements. You want to make sure that the title is clear, that the taxes are paid, that the mortgage is current. All of these things, you have to make sure you have a checklist to make sure that nothing is forgotten. If you forget something, you're going to be hosed. All right? Now, I want to talk about here, if you want to make a ton of money doing lease options, find the buyers first. Now, what do I mean by this? This is a killer strategy. I'm super excited about this. You do have to be a realtor, however. And this is amazing. Now, if you're a realtor, I'm telling you, if you want to do lease options, this is one of the fastest ways to make money in this business, if not the fastest way. And I'm excited about this because I am looking to partner with realtors in new markets and set this system up for them. And I'll talk about this here now. So to find the tenant buyers first, you do what we talked about. Okay, do Craigslist ads, do some bandit signs, and do some Facebook ads. We have a team that does our Facebook ads for us. And Facebook ads is amazing. It just costs pennies practically to build your buyers list with really good tenant buyers. When you find a tenant buyer, you get them to a website, get them to a voicemail, get them to fill out some kind of application, get them to pay a "Are you serious" fee of a few $100, right? Get them into the office. Now, again, you have to be a realtor. Get them into an office, get them to sign a buyer's agency agreement, and then go out and find a house for them. And you'll be shocked. There are tons of homes already right now on your MLS, I don't care what city you're in, that are available for lease purchase right now. And as a realtor, finding the tenant buyers is the easy part. You can advertise other lease option homes that are already available for lease options on Craigslist. Just don't put the address of the property on the ad. Get them to your website, get them on the phone, talk to them, get them in the office. And it's once you find a good tenant buyer, and if you're working with a mortgage broker that can help you, find out what they can afford, collect a deposit from them, and then collect a fee from them as well. So as an example, you could charge $500, are you serious deposit, and then go out and find a home for them. With a buyer's agency agreement that says, when we find a house for you, we're going to get another $1,000 and maybe half of the first month's rent. So up front, you're making about $2,000, $2,500, okay, for every tenant buyer that you're placing into a home where an offer is accepted. But the cool thing now is, since you're licensed, you are also getting the 3% commission if and when that tenant buyer buys the home in a year, okay? So it's not that hard, guys, to find these tenant buyers. You could easily be doing 10 to 20 of these a month. And let's say you're just making $2,000 on the low end, and you're doing 10 of these a month, that's $20,000 just from the upfront fees. Okay. And then you're making 3% of the sale of the property in a year or two, if and when they buy the house, and that starts adding up. It's amazing. And you got a mortgage broker that's working with them. Maybe they get financed in 6 months, maybe 3 months. It's really awesome. And so this is a huge opportunity. Now, obviously, you've got to be licensed. This is a huge opportunity. If you want to work with me and partner with me on this, you can apply at coachjoe.net. Basically, what we're going to do, since I'm a licensed agent myself as well, we're going to set up your website, set up the phone systems, and do all the Facebook advertising for you and work with you setting this up in your market. We could even possibly get the Craigslist ads done for you. We'll get somebody to do the bandit signs. We just need some boots on the ground that can take the calls and meet with the tenant buyers in your market. But we'll set that stuff up for you. All you have to do is worry about answering the phones, right? And pre-screening them out, getting them in the office. You want to make sure you're working with a real estate broker that lets you keep 90 to 100% of your commissions. But we can talk more about that if you're interested. The fastest way to make money, whether you're doing wholesaling or lease options, it's always been to find the buyers first, right? It's so much easier to sell a buyer or to shop. I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit here. It's always easier to do deals when you are shopping for what buyers want versus selling them what you have. Huge difference, right? Now, when it comes to lease options specifically, and you're wanting to find buyers first and then go find a home for them, you need to be licensed to do that. And in the realtor world, being a buyer's agent is the least sexy thing, right? I mean, that's the thing that the beginners do. That's the thing that the less sophisticated, not as smart realtors do. But the students that I have, and when in our own business, when we've gone out and found tenant buyers first, these students of mine are making more money than like 90% of all the realtors out there. It's an amazing opportunity. I'm super excited about it. And I want to partner with people on this. So if you want to work with me and if you want us to set up the systems, do the marketing, get the buyers to flood your phone and fill out all the applications and stuff on the website, we'll help you set that up. Go to coachjoe.net. Gavin and I will be talking to you on the phone, seeing if you're a good fit. And if you're not, that's fine. Maybe we can just help you and coach you and teach you how to do it yourself. So we either partner with you or coach you how to do it yourself as well. Go to coachjoe.net. All right, so we only got one more video, and we're going to be putting it all together, talking about how to do your first lease option deal as quickly as possible, talking about some success principles and what you need to know in your head to get this working for you as quickly as possible. Okay, cool? All right, we'll be talking soon. Take care.